Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Representative Ocasio-Cortez, for yielding. Mr. Speaker, I rise today in support of my bill, H.R. 9549, to designate the Elizabeth Furse Post Office Building in Hillsboro, Oregon. I thank all of my Oregon colleagues for their support on this bill. Elizabeth Furse served Northwest Oregon in Congress for 6 years. She was the first woman elected to represent Oregon's 1st Congressional District, which I am now honored to represent. When she was first elected, Elizabeth was one of only 48 women in the House. Today, there are 127 women, thanks in part to the courageous example set by Elizabeth and other early Congresswomen. Elizabeth Furse was raised in a family that valued service and justice. Her father served in the British Navy when she was growing up in Nairobi, Kenya. Her mother launched an anti-apartheid women's group, and her grandmother was a commandant of the British Red Cross Voluntary Aid during World War II. Elizabeth knew that government had the power to protect civil rights or to threaten them. She continued her family's legacy of service by advocating for those at the margins, beginning at her first anti-apartheid march when she was only 15 years old, and continuing through her work, speaking on this very floor of the House of Representatives, where she championed the issues of human rights and social justice. Elizabeth believed that Congress should look like the country it represents. Good policy comes when people of diverse backgrounds and experiences shape it. We've come closer to that goal, but we have further to go. Representative Furse came to Congress to advocate for meaningful change. She fought for tribal sovereignty, social justice, and peace. She inspired dedication to worthy causes, including co-founding the Oregon Peace Institute. She embodied the traits public servants should strive to uphold. Elizabeth assisted countless people during her time in Congress and throughout her life. Her many achievements include helping the Grand Ronde, Klamath, and Coquille tribes gain federal recognition. That work meant a lot to her, and it certainly meant a lot to the tribes. She increased access to public transportation in our region by extending the light rail service to Hillsboro, and she was one of the original founders of the bipartisan Congressional Diabetes Caucus. Elizabeth was a trailblazer and an inspiration to many, including me. She dedicated her life to service, bolstering the lives of people in Northwest Oregon. I'm privileged to have been able to call her a mentor and a friend. Elizabeth lived many places before she came to Oregon in 1978, but she made our state her home, and she will always be remembered as one of the smart, courageous women who shaped Oregon today. When she faced adversity, she overcame it and opened the doors for others to walk through. She pursued a non-traditional career path, and she fought tirelessly for justice. So I'm honored to support this legislation to recognize her contributions to Northwest Oregon by naming this post office, which is close to the home where she spent her final days, in her honor, so people will be inspired by her example for years to come. I know that I will continue to draw Thank you. I know that I will continue to draw inspiration from her legacy and her commitment to justice. And on behalf of her friends and family and former constituents, I request that my colleagues on both sides of the aisle support this important bill, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentlewoman yields. Gentlewoman is recognized.
I urge the passage of this legislation and reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves. The gentleman